why.
Not at all. I just
All right, so we're
streaming.
We're coming up.
I'm updating
Yeah,
social
we're
media.
obviously rolling right now. We're up, and let's see here. Boom, YouTube it is.
This has been a minute. Like,
all right, so I got to. You there?
Yes, I am. I'm still
all
there.
right, got it. Good. So we are up and running. Let me get you over on the other computer. This is totally like a last minute thing that we're doing. So let me get it up, turn the volume off. So we're not.
I don't even know
here.
The last time we did this. I've done this.
Get over to, let's see here. Fire radio. Beautiful. So we got like dead air. Of course.
Dead air. Well, I mean, we can, again, listen, anyone that follows me for sure knows I haven't done this in a while. And
we haven't done, and I haven't either. And I want to talk about that too, with just the taking the summer off, if you will. We haven't done
sabbatical.
It really was, man. Let's see here. We're live right now, and we're good. Here we are. We got 2 people watching. We're famous. We got 2 people watching.
And the post just went up on my social media. So, I mean, that's already 2 people paying attention to
man.
us, so.
We're flying high here. Yo, so let's talk about that, man. How was your summer? This is really just for people tuning in and so on, and this is going to be released out on the audio channels too, but this is really just you and I catching up, right? Over time, you and I have become, I don't know if we want to call it friends or just acquaintances. I mean, I don't know how deep we go.
I think we're beyond friends.
Are we? Beyond friends?
Well, we've made plans like 10 times to hang out, and we keep breaking them.
They fall through consistently.
That's a friendship thing, I think. So I'm going to say we're friends now. I think we can move on from acquaintances. Maybe not a bromance yet. We're not there yet, but maybe soon.
I hear volume. Let me turn that down. There we go. So I mean, how was your summer, bro?
It was really good, dude. It was just a lot of stuff, like August. I think July was a pretty cool month. August, just everything took off. On a personal note, my wife got a new job. Congratulations to Mrs. Pip. That caused her to have the month of August off, though.
Which was nice.
Which was very nice. And then I took some extra days off. So we did a lot of stuff with the mini Pips. And then in the middle of that, I managed to get promoted, which is
a long time coming, though, if I can say that without ruffling feathers. But they were, it was a long time coming. And you were every week was a new challenge of, is it going to happen this week? Is it going to happen next week? Right. But ultimately it did. And you got the seat now. So you're in a car, which is a whole nother animal.
Well, we'll just substitute teaching. So,
okay.
Captain, I'm still on the engine. I'm back on engine 1.
Okay. So you've just been acting then in the car position.
Yep. So when the deputy is off, I split the acting time with the other captain.
Got it.
So tomorrow it's my turn. So I'm in the, look at you, famous.
That's my daughter calling me because they're quarantined right now. We can get into that conversation too.
A whole new level. She calling you like from her room? Like
no, we shipped them out. They're not even here, man. I have like no kids for 10 days now. So anyway,
a positive to that.
No, it's not. I miss them like you wouldn't believe, man. I really do. I feel terrible. They're supposed to start school today. Like it's just timing is so bad right now with everything going on. But anyway, back to you.
No, but you talk about that too, and like that's been a big worry recently too. Like trying to get these kids. Today's my kid's first day of school, and I had some recent travel, so there was that fear of like, oh man, like let's just make it.
Well, I'm riding the bench right now with COVID, so I'm home for 10 days, which is wild now because you test positive, very minor symptoms. I mean, right now as I speak to you, I am COVID positive, but all I have is a sniffle, and so now I'm home. I'm riding the bench for 10 days. And which is fine because you know what that does? That gets me in line with a lot of stuff that I got to get done office wise for my job and for NFR and for everything in between. So it gives me finally some dedicated office time that I needed actually. So, hey, you know what? If it stays this way, we'll take it,
Yeah. I mean, but you have to look at it that way too, that like, listen, no matter what it is in life, we always have to try to find the positive, right? And
100%.
And I mean, I do feel for your kids not being able to go back to school. It's so concern of mine.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's crazy because when you get into it, just talking about some things, it's such a fluid situation with COVID and the different school systems and how they're handling it that our 2 schools. So my kids are now in 2 different school systems. One's a high school, one's a middle school. So it's 2 different board of educations and all that. So they have different policies.
Oh,
and then, so it's like, and then not only that, but like when we called the talk to figure out how it was going to play out, the different schools had to get back to us. They're like, we don't know yet. We don't know what the policy is because it's changing so quickly. You know what I mean?
It's almost back to like the beginning.
It is what, yeah. So it is what it is. But unfortunately, we're dealing with this right now in the Donch house. But anyway, I want to get back to you. Promotion. Tracy's got a new job. Summer was good. 555. What's going on there?
So we just gave away a grant out to Michigan City Fire in Indiana, another Indiana winner. So we're in the process of getting all their equipment ordered. Our last grant for 2021, we're in 2021 now, is open right now. So fire, police, EMS departments can apply. Go to 555fitness.org. We just, what are we at now? Like 2 weeks ago, we went out to California and got to participate in an event called the Never Forgotten Games.
Right. That's cool.
Amazing fitness competition. And you know, it was put on by cops, a bunch of SWAT cops. And you know, it pains me to say this, but they did an amazing job of putting on this competition. And through them, we were able to, and through our partners with Assault Fitness, able to donate 12 assault bikes.
That's cool.
To departments in the area. Yeah, so it's cool to be able to take an event like that and very rapidly, and if anyone from any of the departments is watching, the bikes have not shipped yet, but we're getting there. These things take time, a little bit of time, but very rapidly turn that donation right back into fitness equipment. And that's going to be something that 555 is going to be trying to do more of in 2022.
Nice.
With local events.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, for the mission of what you guys do, I mean, one, you're a nonprofit, right? So like the time being put in between yourself and your executive board, if you will, and everybody else that helps on the 555 mission, right? It's really your time being given back. And so to collaborate only helps you get the message out there and be able to allow you to do more when you start pairing yourself with different groups, no?
Yes. And it's key. And two, being a nonprofit, it's hard working with other nonprofits, right? Because we're all kind of looking for nonprofit dollars,
right?
Plain and simple. But what we've kind of learned on our end is that we can even help your nonprofit use your nonprofit dollars through our mission to help the people in your local area. And I think that's key because all too often we see very large nonprofits that are out there.
Right.
You donate money to them, but you never really know where it goes, right? Like you don't have that, you know, it's going to help people, but you don't know. So it's good to be able to help people in your local community. And that's what we did with Never Forgotten Games, was help people in their community, help a whole bunch of different departments get an assault bike.
And so, you know, what's cool about that too is, you know, you guys are a nationwide mission, right? So you span from east to west coast. And I know you have people all over the country, but you're primarily based out of, say, the Northeast, I would assume, right? I mean, that's where your presence is. And so, you know, to get your attention elsewhere and to get your influence and your exposure to different parts of the country requires travel, requires, you know, education and the constant push. So to be able to team up with the games like this, I know you came back from it. We were chatting and you said how instrumental it was in providing and giving more information about the mission of what you guys are all about.
Oh, for sure. Like getting out there to a whole new group of people.
Yeah.
We partner with a few fitness competitions before, but this is the first time in a while. And the fact we were able to go out there, but you know, through our partnerships with different fitness things, and people are like, you guys should run your own fitness competition. And it's so easy to say something like that, right?
Oh, 100%. Yep.
And it's so hard to do. So the team at Never Forgotten Games, and listen, they dealt with some obstacles. I mean, they had to do a venue change a week and a half before because of the wildfires out there. And that was something that if I was running something in Northern California here from New Jersey, I could have never accomplished what Darren and his team did. And that actually ended up being a huge benefit to them because the venue they moved into was unbelievable. But you see these things and being able to have that outreach and have a group that has boots on the ground somewhere, has a good intention and mission, and understands your group, being 555's intention and mission, was just a great experience. And I do know they told us they're inviting us back next year. So I think we'll be doing the same type of thing again next year with them.
Yeah, and cool. You did mention the assault bikes, but did you mention what you guys were doing there? I'm sorry. Did you mention the assault bike CPR? I mean,
I did not.
So talk about what you guys do, because you also do that. I saw you guys do that in with Zoll at one time at the EMS conference and so on, right? So
we do something called the Assault on CPR Challenge.
Yeah, talk about it.
We partnered up with Assault Fitness to use their bike, and we partnered up with Zoll Medical to use their monitoring capabilities and really their CPR feedback, because they have a device. It's a small little hockey puck that you put between yourself and the patient. And as you're doing CPR, it's telling you how deep you're pressing and how fast and or slow you're pressing. So it actually is telling you the quality of your CPR, because what we've learned over time is that high quality CPR, high quality chest compressions is what saves people's lives, along with early defibrillation. So what we've done is we put people on the assault bike for 1 minute. So you go max calories for 1 minute and you get your heart rate up, because think about it. If anyone's ever done CPR,
100%.
An emergency call, your heart rate is up. I don't care who you are, how many times you've done it, your heart rate is still up. After they do that 1 minute, they do 2 minutes of hands-only CPR, and they're able to see just how good their CPR is right in front of them on the monitor. And I would say that 80 to 90% of the folks, no matter how fast they went on that bike, get off that bike and their CPR is not high quality, is an easy way to put it.
I believe it.
Once they see that monitor and we can focus them in on their rhythm and their depth, totally changes. Total game changer.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it, right? We get trained once a year on CPR, your annual refresher, and what do? You're sitting there and you're paying attention or not paying attention. You pump on Annie, right? Remember resuscitation Annie, right? That was it. And off you go, and you're doing it from a rest position. And you do your 30, what are we up to 30 now? Compressions, right?
You're just going for 2 minutes solid, man.
Yeah, but I know, but I'm just saying, like,
you know, literally just pressing on the chest.
But if you think about it, right? Like, you do that from a resting point of view. Now amp yourself up and go at it. You know, It's a whole different animal.
It totally is. And we've been really successful. And one cool thing that was different with this fitness event, as opposed to when we're at like FDIC or EMS today, is most of the people at the fitness event were not firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, police officers. There were a fair amount, but we were able to teach about 40 people how to do appropriate hands-only CPR. So they would come off the bike. And I mean, we had some folks, they were like at the belly button, you know, like just, I don't know, I've seen this on TV. I watched 911 on Fox. Like, you know what I mean? We're like, no, let's put your hands up here. Let's talk about this for 2 minutes. And, you know, they spent a little bit of their time with us. And they were like, that's amazing. Or we had a lot of people too, and I'm sure your daughters have been through this, where they learn CPR in school.
Right.
And there was a guy that was like, I haven't done this since high school when they taught me how to do it. And I'm 32 years old. This could be a good refresher.
It's something that everybody needs to know, you know, and then I think the other message too is the importance of, and you hit on it, is early defibrillation too, right? I mean, the importance of getting people hooked up immediately to a machine. And I think now more than ever, they're readily available in most public venues now, you know?
Yeah, they are readily available. It's just a matter of knowing where that
finding them. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and we did have a little interesting scenario happen out there where
I was wondering how you're going to segue into that. I guess that was.
Thought we could. Well, it works out because you said early defibrillation.
You would think I've done this before, huh?
Yeah, you may be kind of good at this.
No, not really. No, not even close. But go ahead.
Where someone that was at the event required CPR.
Yeah.
And it happened not very far from where our booth was.
It's pretty wild.
And you take the 555 team, 3 paramedics and a flight nurse all doing this CPR event. And we were able to aid this individual. And one of our team was looking for that defibrillator, like running around this kind of large venue. It ended up being near the front door is where he found it.
Yeah.
But it's just those things to keep into the back of your head. And literally we had hands-only CPR started within I would say 10 seconds. That's how close
That's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, it was Jeremy.
Well, you want to talk about a good play. Listen, if you're going to have an issue, if you're going to have an episode or go down,
sort of work that we just
it's probably helpful to do it right in front of the CPR experience. You know what I mean?
It kind of is one of those, like, it was something else, man. And, you know, we're still kind of waiting to get permission to talk more about this.
Sure, I get it. Of course.
To talk to the individual. This person did have a positive outcome, which is something we don't often get to experience either. More for us on the team, though, you know, we've worked together. Gosh, the four of us have been going at this for like 4 years now, I think, with 555. We never assisted anyone in a medical emergency. It was, for lack of a better term, a bit of a shit show. Because it wasn't like we were at work with your crew, with your equipment. You weren't ready to go and do this.
Right.
So afterwards, we had a little like AAR, a little after action review, and we were like our hardest critics on each other. Like, why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? Why didn't we do that? And here, like, it was just that emergency response role kick in. You know what I mean? And it was an experience, man. It was definitely something else that you.
That's wild. Well, right place, right time. And, you know, it's got to be, looking back with a successful outcome that you had. I mean, it's going to be a fun story to tell for a long time to come between you guys. I mean, it's just another, you know, you guys, I know how close I've spent time with you and your team, and I know how close you guys are. So to experience something like that only brings, it's just like your engine company, your truck company. It just brings the crew closer together when you have, you know, a successful outcome at something like that. And so, you know, for you guys, that's fantastic. It only builds your trust and value of each other that much more. So it's a fantastic experience.
There was a little barricade, let's say, in between ourselves and this individual. And I saw it first and took off. Didn't even say anything. Like, I just saw this was going to be a problem.
Right.
Apparently I jumped over the barricade, and Rob described it as like, yeah, man, you just went over that barricade. And then CJ was like, it wasn't exactly like a graceful going over that barricade. Like Rob just said, it was more of like I stumbled over this small barricade.
Didn't matter. Get out of the way.
Right. And it's just like that. It's like your crew, right? She's going to sit there. Rob was like, yeah, you jumped over that barricade. And here I am thinking like, adrenaline pip, like I scaled it, like I was a hurdler.
No,
right in the Olympics.
CJ like, brings you right back down to reality.
Nah, bro, you didn't hurdle that shit. You fell over it.
You tripped.
you stumbled across it and didn't know where you were on the other end, type of a thing.
That's funny. That's very funny. Well, that's cool. What an incredible experience, right? So I would think with the successful outcome and the success of what you guys did out there, I'm sure they'll have you back, which would be a fun experience. Why don't you talk about too? I thought another interesting part of the conversation was the wildfires that you guys experienced out there too, right? Because not many people outside of that part of the country really understand how devastating and impactful these firestorms are out there. And you guys saw firsthand and had some conversations with people that I think probably, I could see it in your face right now, kind of like changed your mindset on all of this. Maybe you want to hit on that a little bit.
For sure. You know, and I thought I had a really good or a better understanding of wildland fires from getting to know Amanda Marsh, Eric Marsh's widow, through her foundation and going out and experience some things there. But this was a totally new experience because we were up in extreme Northern California. So Redding, California.
Right. You're talking north of like Sacramento north, right?
You're 2 hours north of Sacramento.
Yeah. So it's way up.
I think for people, an easy way to kind of understand it, if a lot of people, and if you haven't seen this, watch on Netflix, Fire in Paradise.
Yes.
And then Rebuilding Paradise is the follow-up to that. Both amazing documentaries. We were about 50 miles from Paradise. And where we landed in Redding, we were actually in between two current burning fires. One was the Dixie Fire. And I don't remember the other fire's name, but we were about maybe an hour away from each of those fires. Maybe one was a little less. And every day we were there was smoke.
Yeah.
You know, they said the day before we landed at one point, you couldn't even see across the street. So imagine, like, you know, when we pull up to a house fire and you can't see across the street because the house in front of you is on fire. Right. Here, you can't see across the street because there's a fire burning 70 miles away. So that was a really unique experience. And then we had a day with the team just to kind of hang out and do some stuff. And everybody was telling us how, I would tell you to go here, but I don't want you to get lost in the smoke.
Yeah.
I would tell you to go hike here. Oh no, you can't drive there because that's closed because of the fires. And this is how these folks live their life every day. And even during the event, one of the vendors had to leave because his house was being threatened. So he went home to try to salvage whatever he could, and actually came back to the event because the fire stopped before it got to his house.
Yeah.
But what we did do is we went into Whiskeytown National Park. And to get there, we drove through where the car fire was, CARR, although started by a car, but that's
right?
not why it was named the car fire.
Yeah.
I believe they're named where the first command post is set up, is what named the fire.
I did not know that.
So we drove through there to get to Whiskeytown National Park, and this fire was in 2018, and it still looked apocalyptic in some of the areas of just burnt out trees, burnt out section of forest. You could see that there were a lot of new houses because obviously the houses that were there were wiped away. And it just gave a whole new, I don't even know, respect for the people that do that job beyond belief, but just respect for the power of these things and how much space they can take up.
Well, and that's the thing, right? You watch it on TV. I mean, shit, we're on the East Coast, Pip. So, I mean, you and I, we get, yes. Do we have what we call forest fires here? Yes. Every once in a while, South Jersey, the Pine Barrens, if you will, you'll get a couple hundred acres maybe or something like that.
This is hundreds of thousands.
No, I know. Right? But that's my point, right?
Yep.
It's like we see that here maybe once a summer or something. And we're like, or in the fall. And we're like, whoa, But then you go and when you watch this on the television, on the news, on the nightly news and all that, there's no way to really comprehend the scope of it, right? And so when you say apocalyptic, I mean, that is probably very accurate in what it appears to be. And not only that, but it doesn't just bounce back. I mean, as far as I know, it takes years and years for infrastructure and growth and then not only that, but after the fires, you have, any type of rain destroys the environment even more because there's no greenery or anything. All of it, right? So it's incredibly devastating. And I don't want to sit here and pretend that I know firsthand. I don't, but I could only imagine seeing that firsthand versus what you see on the news every night. I have an incredible appreciation for the men and women that are on that front line in the areas where they deal with these type of fires.
And we saw every hotel, including ours, had strike teams staying in them.
Right.
So they would come in, there'd be 6 engines parked in the parking lot. They would sleep and they'd be gone the next morning to go back to wherever their camp they were going to. And they're the fortunate ones that got to sleep in the hotel that night. Yep. They weren't sleeping out on the line. Yeah. But, I've talked to a lot of wildland firefighters and again, through the Eric Marsh Foundation. But now we spent most of our weekend with cops because that was the folks that were putting on the event.
Right.
And listening to their stories, totally different world. The one guy who ran it, we were out with him and his wife, and she was talking about calling him and him saying I'm running from the fire right now. He lost his car.
Couldn't find
in the smoke, couldn't find his car. And he's like, so I'm now running and the fire's behind me. And she's like, wait, what? We think about things like that on a fire and totally different. And they also spoke a lot too. So not just during the fire and trying to help with evacuations and all that, but then after the fire, when you're going back in and you see cars crashed head on because they didn't know which way they were driving.
Yeah, they were just fleeing for their lives.
And talking about maybe, there being expired bodies in the car.
Sure.
And things that, again, on a mental health end, and these folks live, they're not only trying to help get other people out. This could be their neighborhood that they live in that's happening to. So there's so much more to it. And it's just such a whole new appreciation.
An eye-opening experience for sure.
Yeah. And again, especially being here on the East Coast, and we don't deal with that.
Yeah. 100%.
Now we deal with flooding all the time, which is a whole different world. But
well, that was a fun go. What, last week? I guess it was. Yeah, last week.
Storm surge.
Yeah, that was wild. But so what else? I mean, so that sounds like an incredible trip, impactful trip for sure. And you guys certainly made a difference there. And on many levels.
People say that, and like for so long too, and I say this for so long, so many people say like, oh, you guys make such a difference, you make such a difference, and I'm like, do we really though? Like, do we really know? Like, people tell us, oh, I've lost weight because of 555, I've gotten healthier, and it's so awesome to hear that, but you're like, really ever make a difference when you do things? I think this time we might have actually.
This time you might have actually.
We might have actually been able to say we definitely made a difference there. There were a lot of people though. Another positive to people, and you and I talk about people all the time. Is there were too many people trying to help that day. Let's say.
I think that makes for a great story when you have the ability to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
I think it will make for a good conversation for sure.
Definitely. I will say, if you ever in an event of doing bystander CPR and you're with some people that make sure somebody becomes
crowd control.
Captain Pip. Yeah. Because like on a scene, somebody's going to run it. Right. And that's currently my job, to run the scene now. So if I'm not doing something, none of us kind of took that role on. We really needed that person. But that's just something else that, again, learn a lesson.
Yeah.
Do it better. But if we ever get to tell the whole story, we'll do that one day.
Yeah. Well, bystander CPR, you get every type of person that wants to come up and help, and you get every level of competence along with that. So for sure.
And too, remember this, you hear this story where it's like, is there a doctor on the plane? There's a woman in labor, and someone like picks up their hand. They're like, what kind of doctor are you? And he's like, a podiatrist.
Yeah. You're like, shit, I got a bunion, bro. Take a look.
Like, what are you gonna do there, buddy?
Right.
I appreciate you and your service and all the things you've done, but you're not the doctor I'm looking for, man.
No, not only, and not only that, but street medicine is very different than hospital medicine in a lot of ways.
And we did too. It was interesting. We had a few nurses afterwards say like, that was so different than when we do it in the hospital. Different than when you do it in the hospital.
Sure is. So what else? What else is cooking? So 555, it sounds like you guys are getting back up. You probably took a little hiatus over the summer, I think. Slowed down a little bit, probably.
Yeah.
I know
into the summer is an easy way to put it.
What's that?
It's like we pandemicked
into
the summer.
No, I get it.
And even still, things are all starting to get back to something, and we're going to figure out where our place is in that world.
Yeah.
Is an easy way to put it. There's not a lot of fitness events. I know there's a lot of fire conferences going on.
Right.
You mentioned before, the cost of travel is through the roof.
It's out of control.
Like, so to say when people are like, oh, why aren't you coming to this event? Why am I not going to, Ohio? Well, because it's through the roof. It's an 8-hour drive, which would be a day each way. Gas is through the roof. If I fly, I'm paying triple what we would have paid before to fly. It's just not.
No, and that too is every dollar brought into the 555 family is hopefully distributed back between grants and equipment and so on, and not having to pay for the infrastructure and travel and everything else that, that unfortunately is required at times, Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it.
Again, with National Fire Radio and things like, people are like, why aren't you here? It's so
we've been doing a lot of regional stuff. And I will tell you in the conversation of conferences, we've been to a bunch lately. Some we've traveled, others we've been able to drive and save costs that way. It's good to see conferences are happening again. I was out at FDIC this year. I think for myself, it was always a great experience because I get to see a lot of people in one place that I want to see. Had a lot of meetings, had a lot of things going on with vendors. So it was good for me, but I can say overall that show was very, very difficult for the vendors, for sure. And I think the classes were not fully populated, and so on. So it was a struggle, and it was a push to get that conference back on. The regional ones, I just got back from one in Syracuse, the Heavy Rescue Conference put on by Take the Door Training. An incredible conference, about 200 students. Some of the biggest names in the industry were there teaching, which I thought was incredible to be at a regional conference like that. And so it makes you start to believe that you don't need to spend a ton of money to go to a conference and be influenced and taught by some of the best in the business. And not only that, but like this Heavy Rescue Conference by Take the Door Training, it's so disciplined in heavy rescue and special operations in a way that, you get some of the best of the business there that want to learn. When you throw a conference that is narrow in its field of teaching, it attracts people that want to be there. It's not a general education event. You know what I'm saying? 16 hours of advanced metal cutting is not going to bring you, the mutt on the back step of the engine that got sent because he was told he's got to go. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. These are guys and girls that are dialed in that want to be there. And so you could just, at that conference, it was great, man. It was such an aura around it of excitement, and people enjoyed being there, and a lot of similar faces I've seen at other conferences. So it's fun to see. I mean, and not only that, but it was in Syracuse. So it's not like not to make it sound bad, but it's not a destination city, if you will. So people have to travel there, to get there. It's not a major hub or whatever. And so, people had to make a point of wanting to go and needing to be there. But I think the quality of that shows through the conference itself. And it goes to show that, it's important to seek these conferences out, and I always say, look at the map, draw a circle 300 miles around where you live, and you'll find a decent conference at least once a year
easily
that you could attend for a fraction of the price of going to some of the big shows. And you'll get some of the best education, if not better. Usually it's lesser amounts of students there. The ratio between instructor to students better. You get more tool time, more hose time, more ladder time, more cut time, whatever you're doing. So these regional conferences are really a win, and they're doing very well. A lot of them are doing well. A couple are struggling, but I think everybody's trying to do them. And I think they're going to, over time, over the next few years, you're going to probably have 8 to 10 that are the premier in the country that are going to be the go-to conferences. I really believe that.
I think too, you have to look at it as you don't need the conference. You know what I mean? Like, you need the education. Like, there's those one-day classes, again, we're pretty fortunate in the Northeast that we have a lot of people that do a lot of this teaching from this area, let's say, but they also fly in instructors for like a Saturday lecture or a Saturday hot training. Like, I know you've been to a few that are just one-day things. You don't need that big, I'm going to walk the exhibit hall floor 3 days and do hot training these 2 days and this party and that party. If you're in it for that education end, those single day spots are great, like that you're getting maybe 2 instructors, different topics or something like that.
100%, 100%. And I think that too, I mean, the whole idea of a conference is a massive undertaking, and to be able to dedicate 4 or 5 days to it, to experience it, is becoming more and more challenging for people. It's not just cost prohibitive usually, but it becomes the time away from the job, time away from the family. I mean, you and I talk, it's not even a money conversation. It's a time conversation.
Yeah.
How are things? Man, I got, slammed. Like,
how many of these conferences I've been to? I couldn't even tell you at this point. And how many classes I've taken while I've been at all of these conferences? I've never made a full one. I've got to pop in to see my buddy teach for 5 or 10 minutes. Right. But I never got to really experience them on that end. Like, I would love to, but it's that time thing again. And I do more on the local level of hitting a one-day lecture here or there. You know what I mean? Like, I know you can hear Chief Turpak at one of these shows talk about high-rise firefighting. I'm fortunate I could hear him in New Jersey do it. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Hey, that only cost me some tolls to go up to. Because also, the more you do, the more these conferences and shows offer, the more expensive it is. Because costs are going up. If they're providing you with a bus to the location, that bus cost more this year than it did last year. Plain and simple. Because everybody's got to recoup their costs.
No, I get it. There's a lot into it for sure. And I think that's where you're going to see a lot of these regional conferences that are scaled back. I think that's why they're able to gain a pretty strong foothold in what's happening right now. Plus, I think that there's excitement. I talked about it yesterday. I was on a podcast yesterday, and I talked about it, and I said, I mentioned it before at the Heavy Rescue Conference I was just at this past week. I see a lot of similar faces, not just the instructors, but some of the students.
Yeah.
And I've seen these guys at other conferences, and I've gotten to know them, or, acquaintance of them, know their names or whatever, high five, do a beer at the bar, whatever. Right. And at the end of the day, it's exciting to see these same faces there because these guys are really dialed in, they want to be there. But on the other aspect of it, and I said to them, I go, nice seeing you guys. Next time, bring somebody with you. Like, the importance, find somebody and expose them to it. It's great that there's a core group of guys that love going to these conferences and bettering themselves because they love not just the training aspect and bettering themselves, but they love the camaraderie and the brotherhood and all that goes along with these conferences. But I'm like, now grab one of your buddies or grab the guy in a firehouse that not many people enjoy being with and bring them. Because you know why? Like the exposure to there's a reason why you keep coming back. And if you keep coming back because it's bettering you, you enjoy the camaraderie and everything that goes along with it, chances are you just need to expose somebody to that and they'll fall in love with it too. And so we need to do a better job sharing that.
They get the information from the horse's mouth, right? Because if you go to one of these conferences and you learn 10 things, I'm holding up a 5, but 10 things, when you come back to the firehouse, if you can properly teach 2 of those things to anyone else you work with,
it's a win.
You're aces, right? That's a total win.
Yeah.
Where when they come, they're getting that same information. And then when you come back and you try to implement it, because it never works exactly the way they said it was going to in your department.
Right.
If you have 2 or 3 of you there, you're like, all right, so we can't do this load this way, but what if we did it this way and it's going to work? And you get that understanding and that
100%. And that's the training aspect of it. And I also think that sometimes even, the training aspect's good, right? No doubt. I mean, that's what those conferences are built on, right? Is sharing the passion and knowledge and experience of the job and paying that forward. But I think another big part of these conferences that need to be talked about and recognized, and I would say are equally as important, is twofold. One, recharges your own batteries, because I don't care how in love you are with anything in this world, at times you need some recharging. And 2, it creates that recharge creates your love for it all over again. The camaraderie and passion that comes through this job and the networking and connection. I mean, I am probably one of the luckiest guys in the world. In the last 4 years with National Fire Radio, I've been able to make some incredible contacts and great friends. I mean, you and we wouldn't have the relationship we have. I mentioned yesterday to somebody, I said, you know what? I said, in the last 4 years, I made the best friends of my life in the last 4 years, and I'm 44 years old. So in the last 4 years, I've made some of the best friends I'll ever have for the rest of my life. At 40 years old, that started. It wasn't high school friends, not college friends, not adult friends, not my kids' friends' parents. Like, it is literally, think about it, right?
No, dude, I'm right. Listen, I'm right there with you.
No,
man.
but
Right
we're all, I think everybody listening to this or will listen to this, or anybody that's in the fire service, recognizes how different the relationships are within the fire service versus their regular life, if you will. And part of that is, the fact that, these conferences allow for you to go network and enjoy people and find people that are on the same page with you. You'll find similarities. If you're struggling with something, you'll find somebody there that's struggling with the same thing. If you're looking for something in particular, you'll find somebody that's still looking for that same thing.
Or you're going to realize maybe I don't have it that bad.
Oh, 100%. Talk about that. I love that.
Maybe I'm that guy, right?
Yep.
Maybe and I've said this, we threw it on that t-shirt years ago, same circus, different clowns, but like, it's not just your department that this is happening in, you know what I mean? Like, you're not alone. It's not that bad. And maybe the way that guy fixed it isn't going to work, or the way this girl fixed it isn't going to work, but you're hearing these things and you're like, man, the struggles are real.
Yeah.
The struggles are real everywhere. It's just a matter of, like we said to start this off, like finding a positive in that situation. And those recharges, I mean, I needed those 3 other 555 people, like, as much as we've done this and we've done texts and phone calls, and I needed them to see them. You know what I mean? It was the best. I made a comment on one of CJ's posts. That was such a great recharge. I still haven't really posted about it because I can't put into a stupid social media post what I really feel about it. And I may never, because it's not for everybody else. It was for me and them. But I made a comment that it was 3 of the best hugs that I've ever had in my life. And I've had a lot of good hugs, you know what I mean? But like, having that recharge is so key, and learning from those people, and learning that you're not the only one, and learning that, your problem may not be the biggest problem ever. It's so clutch. And I think we got away from that. I think we never had that, right? And then social media happened, and everyone, and I just had a talk with, it's funny, I was talking to our friend Ryan Pennington this morning on the phone, who, another great friend, don't talk every day of the week, but when we catch up, we get to catch up. And we were just talking about even not doing podcasting anymore, just because of all the other things we have going on in life and this, that, and the other. But, oh God, where was I going with this now? But in talking to him, it's that reignition of like, but we're still doing good, man. We're still finding positive. It may not be that same way. Oh, so where I was going with all of it was, too, we all got so caught up because maybe we did get too into this and into our ability to be a keyboard cowboy and into our ability to do whatever we wanted to on that. But now we're all starting to come back into the really understanding that this was great and it made people like me and you meet and things like that, but we can do so much more together in a different way. And I think that's what we're into now. You know, the ease back a little bit. I don't know what the word is. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I crazy?
No, you're
right. You don't know, but no, I
kumbaya,
think,
brother.
No, but you and I talk about this. We don't know. You know what I mean? It's that we're
not going to go backwards.
Yes,
we're never going to go backwards.
Not going backwards,
right? We're not going backwards. But I do believe that there is a tremendous value in the. You know, I'm going to write this down because I got to do a piece on this.
Oh,
how important is the face-to-face on the fire ground?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So this is just clicking in my head. Like never thought of this way before, but let's talk about this. Right. So the face-to-face on the fire ground. I remember when I was in a command position, when we're working jobs, there was a point in the fire where I would request on the radio to talk to either the operations chief or whatever position I was in at the time. You know, let's meet up. I'd like to do a face-to-face. You get, and then it also matters at the timing of the fire as well, because what you can do with the face-to-face is not only do you get the verbal communication, but you get the body language, the facial expressions, the look of concern, right?
Yes,
yeah.
That's it. It's the
look.
You're
yes. And so the face-to-face, which I wrote down, I don't take a lot of notes when I do podcasts, and I should, because my guests are amazing and they always say so many great things. And then I'm like, I'll remember that. And I never do. But the face-to-face
recorded though, buddy. You could go back and watch it.
That is true. That is true. But the face-to-face is incredible. So
it's the same theory.
Yep. Outside of the fire ground, just in the fire service, the face-to-face is still incredibly important. As much as we use the tools of delivery, you know, the tools that we know to be the delivery methodology of today, we still need the face-to-face because that's where the tremendous value, there's value in this, and there's value in being able to get your message across, but you still need to have that face-to-face to maintain those relationships, camaraderie, and brotherhood, which is what I was talking about with these conferences and why it's so important to go to them.
It's that understanding, you know, like you said it before, it's the understanding. The same, like I'm thinking at my career at times where either I or the incident commander have been like, we need a face-to-face.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of it comes down to not understanding each other, but having to understand each other very rapidly. Like they've taken, when you do it, like I can tell you one where I had to do it, but I couldn't get off the second floor. And I'm like, I'll be at the front window. And like, I'm like, and I lifted up my mask and he's standing below me. It was one of my older chiefs. And I was like telling him something that was so vital and important. I couldn't say it over the radio that he wouldn't understand what I was trying to express.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, we did it that way. And he was like, gave me the thumbs up and I went back in. And that's the same thing when you get to see these folks and, you know, have these recharges. And I think I'm all about the local show, man. I think hopefully they keep up. Hopefully I can
and I think as long as they bring value, I mean, that's my other big platform that I'm pushing, and that's going to be the big push for we have a lot of stuff coming out the first quarter of next year, which is super exciting. But on top of that, you know, it's all about the value proposition with me. And this is something I've really been examining in my head now for the last month or two. Been putting a lot of notes on paper. I actually want to do like small course or a video on it. But the value proposition of 5149, giving more than you take. And I think we can apply that to everything in the fire service, and we will lose every time we try to take more than we give. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And so, you know, that's part of the mantra of National Fire Radio. I want to be able to give more than we take. And that goes with everything that we do.
I just had a conversation this morning.
Did you?
Yeah, with somebody from Canada who's trying to do something, not like 555, but something along the lines of it. And that was our whole conversation almost was talking about giving back, like, and giving more than you're taking back and wanting to do that. And that's been everything with 555 is just continuing to give back and give back. And like I said, we're doing it. God bless you. We're doing it in different ways and such, but it's very important. And it's very, for me, look, come on, you've said it already, some of the best friendships I've ever made have been because of this.
Yeah.
And these are some folks that I haven't even talked to in 2 or 3 months, but I know if we pick up the phone, we're going to be on the phone for an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or anything, or if they needed something, I would drop whatever I was doing to help them. It's such a great concept, and you need that face-to-faceness.
But it's got to be authentic, right?
It can't be
the give and the value has to be authentic. Because if it's not, it's not worth its weight. It's not worth anything.
It's the same as being in a class with somebody who's freaking blah, 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 blah. And then you go do the hot training. You're like, where is that guy?
Yeah. Where'd he go? It's got a cramp.
Where'd he go? This dude, I watched this dude talk to the instructor and tell him what he was doing wrong.
Yeah. Where'd he go?
Maybe let me shine my light around this room here. Maybe
It's very true. It's very true.
So something too, and maybe, you've been to a lot more of these than I have, but like when you go to a smaller local conference or in a different state and it's a lot of local people and you're not the local person, right? You learn so much more from them about how they do things where they are, but they have even more questions to you about how you do things where you are. But that back and forth exchange to me has been like the most vital thing ever.
Hell yeah.
On learning about stuff.
We base a lot of our content just strictly on that, right? It's like how you do it is different than how I do it, but there's a middle ground in understanding each other. And there might be that nugget that you do that I don't do because I didn't know any better. And now I know, and so that's what that sharing is. That's what that camaraderie is. That's that conversation over a pop at the bar at the conference that you go to. Like, those are the important conversations. And that's why I want to stress again, like, if you go to these conferences and you know how good they are, and when you drive home or fly home on that Sunday or Saturday night and you're flying high because you're like, man, what a great weekend, got my ass kicked in the training and made these new friends. And I got to talk to this guy who I admire, like all this stuff. And if you're having that experience or conversation with yourself on the way home, then you need to tell yourself, the next time I sign up for one of these, I got to bring somebody with me. You now are responsible to expose somebody else to that high that you're feeling, that euphoria of what that conference just did for you. You have an obligation to the fire service to bring somebody with you next time.
No, I agree. And write everything down because you're going to forget most of it the next day anyway.
No, we already talked about that. I know,
but
I get it.
And bringing that other person, to experience it is just, it's clutch. I say that word a lot, but it totally is. Like, you can expose them to something new.
For sure.
Listen, everybody's not going to jump and be like, yes, I'm coming. I want to come with you because you had this great experience. But that one person may, and off you go.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, is doing our part. We got to give more than we're taking from this job. And if we're not looking out for the value of what these conferences can bring you, and you're not wanting to expose other people to it, you're taking more than you're giving. Bring somebody with you, share the experience. And you know what? The person might turn around and say, it's not for me. That's fine. You move on, you find somebody else, but you bring somebody that's willing to try something new and different. And I promise you, man, I just know how impactful these conferences and the relationships that I've been able to make over these years. I just know how important it is. And I think that it's an opportunity that needs to be shared. So,
what's even cooler too, is it never ends, like that learning. Like right now, like I've been so fortunate to meet some of, the incident commanders, chiefs, whatever you want to say, who've run large departments, run all kinds of things throughout my years. Now that I have the promotion and I'm the substitute teacher, like tomorrow I'm on the car, like I'm the guy who's standing outside.
Right.
Those are the classes that it hasn't been that I haven't been paying attention to that part because I knew this was coming for a little while. But now that I'm actually doing it, I'm learning on a whole new level. And look, those chiefs that are talking, they have, some of them have infinite amount of engine companies to call. I don't, but I'm still learning things from them about how they run incidents and trying to put these things in my mental toolbox so I can pull them out when I need them. But that's like a whole new thing for me now to be like, I'm going to go here and learn this. Why don't you come with me and learn these other things that you may need? You may not need to be sitting in the command class next to me. You may be better off in the engine company class or the truck company class, you know? And then we can share what we learned together. And it's a great experience. I'm excited to get back into it.
Sure. I agree. I agree with you 100%. I'm not paying attention to you. I'm just messing with YouTube on the back end here.
Is anybody even paying attention to us?
No, nobody. It's just me and you rambling on and on. No, there's a couple people, but I mean, this was 12 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon, lunchtime here, and so on. But you and I were going to chat anyway, so we said, why don't we just go live with it and whatever. But what's cool about that is it will be up for people to listen to. But I think ultimately in this quick, almost hour we've been chatting. There's a couple nice little nuggets that we came out with here on conferences.
Face to face. I feel like there's something we can do with this too. Like we actually have to do it, but there's definitely.
Here's all my notes I took today from our conversation. That's it. Doodles, face to face. It says grant is opened, where to apply. So as we go out, I'm going to say, Pip, where can everybody find you? The grant's up. How can people apply? Blah, 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 blah. So that's my notes. So you can see how
doodling. This is like high school English class. You're sitting there doodling.
Dude.
If you go to the conference, don't doodle while the instructors go.
No. Look, that's all I do is doodle.
I
doodle on every single piece of paper. Look. Here's a page from the other day. I doodle on everything. I am probably non-diagnosed ADHD. I like to draw. I love to do like arrows and shapes. It's just what I do. It's my doodle. But I constantly have to write while I'm listening. But it actually makes me pay attention better.
Makes you focus. Yeah. Dude, listen, me moving my chair, having Declan with dyslexia and watching him learn. That was, again, I've said this on a few podcasts and things, like when that virtual learning in the beginning, when I had to become Declan's, he didn't know how to use a computer. He's in the first grade. You know what I mean? Like I had to be there with him, but watching the teachers, watching him learn was amazing, and how he learned. Watching his teachers interact with him to teach him how to learn. Whole new respect for anybody that was a teacher in that.
That's cool.
Especially special ed. So I see, we live in the same community as his first grade teacher. So I see her here and there, and it's a hug because I'm like, you're the best lady ever. Like I got to watch you do that. Like, you know what I mean? And that's going back 2 years, but it's the same as me. Like you see these things, and that's what we do. To be present. Some people think, oh, that's rude. It's not rude. That's just me bouncing around. Like my hands are moving, my butt's moving, my feet are moving.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I'm the same way, just different, but yeah, it works. So
all right, anyway. So where do you find out about the grant? 555
Yeah, so
Fitness?
Pip, tell me where if people are interested, where they can find the grant and what they need to apply with.
It's so awesome that you ask.
Oh my gosh.
You can go to 555fitness.org/grants, or just click on the grant tab. The application will be open until September 31st is when it closes. Any police, fire, EMS department can apply. There is a grant checklist for the application that we put on. So basically you have to make sure you have all those little boxes checked. It's a Google form made up by firefighters, police officers, EMTs, for firefighters, police officers, EMTs. Make sure you have everything checked and hit submit. And there you go. That's the easiest way for that. You can follow us at 555 Fitness on Facebook, Instagram. I'm 555Pip on Instagram. If you wanted to follow me, if you didn't, I doubt anyone watching this is like, I've never seen those two people before.
You also have another podcast too that platform
laying dormant.
That is up. It's been a little sleepy. But I would love for you, and this is not any way of a push, but I want to. No, not even close. I would love to see you do something with it, because I think that I always enjoy our conversation, not just as friends, obviously, off the camera, but on camera, because I think you have a very dialed in perspective on a lot of things in the fire service, and you're known primarily for fitness. and well-being, if you will, because I knew you do talk about mental health as well. I know you're pretty dialed in with that as well.
They all came. I didn't, dude. I was just a bro who liked to lift weights.
Right.
And it all comes together in this whole.
But I think the other fun part is to remember that you are also a, career fire service captain, goes to work, loves the job. And I think oftentimes you don't get to talk about that part of things. And I think, you need that outlet too. So, the ability to have your own podcast, which you have a couple episodes up, I'd love to see if you fire that thing up again. I just think it would be great. Not to throw something on your plate, but I think you have a good message to share, and I think you have a good way. I enjoy your interviewing style and how you talk to people. So I think it could be really a success for you and in helping the mission of 555, but also helping the mission of, Robert Piparo. And
wow, you really are a friend. You know my name, my real name.
Did I pronounce it right?
Piparo. You said Piparo or said Piparo? I don't know. I get them all. I give it up. Call me.
I know that.
I don't even listen when people say my name like that.
You've stopped correcting me after all these years.
And I just say, call me Pip. Like that's it. Just Pip.
Yeah.
Like it's funny too. So my older son, Finn, he is really good friends with a medic that I worked with, son. And so she calls me Pip, but he calls Finn Pip. So It's just like weird. Yeah. Like, so is Pip and Pip coming over, he'll say, or something like that. Like, it's just this weird thing that, like, I don't know. It's funny to have Finn already starting to get called Pip.
Well, it was bound to happen, no?
Yeah, it happened to me. I mean, it happened to all of us. It's just,
right.
I think it's stuck more with me, but that was just because of the way the stars aligned and such things like that. But yeah, I want to get the size up going again. And, I think today was the first day back to school. So it's kind of been interesting to have the house to myself with Tracy at work again and not having as many worries about that. And
well, it's the same here, right? I mean, we took the summer off on podcasting. I really haven't put out any new episodes. And Rob and I have been talking about getting it going again. And we have so many guests that we want to get lined up. And now that I'm stuck home for a few days, if you weren't watching earlier, I'm on the bench for 10 days for, reasons. And so I'm home. And so because of that, it's between work and everything else, I want to squeeze in like one a day. So that's what this is all about today. So, but listen, man, I always enjoy talking to you. You're a dear friend, and whatever the future holds, I support you 100%. So get your ass going on the size up. And
I made you a logo and some stickers, you tool.
No, we're good. Listen, when you're ready, it's coming. I know that.
When you're ready, wink, wink, get your ass recording.
No worries. All right, listen, I've had enough of you. Let's get out of here. Congratulations on all the success you guys have had with 555, and of course on your promotion and everything else, man. Moving forward, thanks, congrats, man. And we'll connect soon again. And it's always a pleasure.
I like it. Let's do it again.
All right, don't disappear, but we are going to stop. So
I'm not going anywhere.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. For myself and Pip from 555 and the Size Up, Jeremy, National Fire Radio.
Keep recording. We're still live on YouTube, it says though.